The latest odds from BetOnline say Grant Udinski is the not runaway favorite, but minus 150 is the favorite to be the Browns' next head coach. Mm-hmm. Jim Schwartz is next at plus 200. Mike McDaniel at plus 500. Then Sean McDermott at plus 900. It's interesting. I don't know why Grant Udinski has seemingly started to run away with this thing, but I think what's really interesting and I would love to know, in all truth and in all reality, what the Browns' intentions are with Jim Schwartz. Maybe that's something we can talk with Mary Kay about, because I still, there's a part of me that really struggles with the idea that he should be the Browns' next head coach.
With Jim Schwartz, you're saying?
Yeah.
What part of the legitimate struggle for you?
He didn't have enough success in Detroit as a head coach with a franchise quarterback. And to this point in his career, he's proven to be a great defensive coordinator.
No, and I think both those things are fair. I think the thing that I take away, and I kind of like try to section off, because Jim Schwartz probably falls like, I don't know, somewhere around like third on my list, and that's with the Udinski Shieldhouse combo is kind of like a 1-2 for me, even though...
Because you just want to piss me off.
No, I mean, I genuinely think it. By the way, I've been talking about this like all week long. Like, this is not just a thing just to bother you. Actually, you bothered me.
Is this more of like a bonus point situation then?
Yeah, no, this is 100%. Sat it out. Every time I can say the name Udinski and he's my number one, I'm going to throw it in here.
You just know, like, secretly, there's like a blood vessel popping in my brain.
Yes, every single time.
I just want to, like, Udinski. I just want to rage.
But I do. So I look at Schwartz as kind of like my number 3 because there's several things that go into it. I think that being a head coach, like, it was a disaster in Detroit. Like, we've heard some of the horror stories out of, like, that building was just not very organized and there were a lot of things floating around. I think once you're more than 10 years removed, like, especially with Jim,
is it like old tax returns that you just delete them and they don't count?
Just kind of push them away. But, like, no, I think that you can take 10 years, over 10 years removed, and go, okay, I've learned my situation from that, right? I've been successful as a defensive coordinator. I've seen how great organizations have continued to work, and I have a better feeling. I think that comboed with you ran a good defense, and a lot of the guys in the locker room, they like you, and they don't just like you because you're a player's coach, right? You're not a guy they're going to walk all over. Like, the defense was disciplined this year. The offense was incredibly undisciplined under Kevin Stefanski. The defense was relatively disciplined. You didn't see a lot of dumb penalties. They were organized. I think when you combo that with the players do really like you in the style you have, I think that should put you near the top. And I think that is something that if your players want to go play for you and you are a master motivator, a guy that people want to run through a wall for, I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, but those same players, if Jim Schwartz is lost as a head coach, are going to be the first ones to say it 6 months into this job. You know what I mean? Like, if you get into a situation, and it wouldn't be 6 months into it, but if you get halfway through next year and there's a critical moment and Jim makes a wrong decision, who's going to turn on Jim first? It's not just the fans. It's going to be that locker room. You know, like, and I think that's what I struggle with. Like, listen, I throw out the first year to 2 years in Detroit because they were digging out of all the Matt Millen era and 0-16 and all that. So, like, it's basically like 2018 and 2019 for the Browns. Like, those were, you're probably going to fail years because you're trying to build something. And then year 3, they got it right. I just think it's really interesting. After getting over that hump, the best they could do was 7-9.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, you go 10-6, 4-12, 7-9. And then Jim Schwartz came in, and I believe Jim Schwartz made the playoffs in 2 out of the next 4 years before he also got fired under the weight of Matt Stafford and having not won a Super Bowl with Matt Stafford yet. So I guess my thing is, like, does it matter that Miles and Denzel won him? Of course it matters. Like, we're in this position where, and I do think when we get into a lot of candidates, we go into it's all or nothing, right? Like, and in fairness, I might have that way of viewing Udinski and Shieldhouse just because there's just not enough success for me. But, like, do I think Jim is the worst idea ever? No. Do I think he's good enough for this? Also, no. Like, I was willing to give Greg Williams the full-time job going into 2019, and I didn't love the Freddie Kitchens thing, but I was willing to give it to Greg because it's like, you need to stabilize this thing. You need an adult in the room. You need this, you need this, you need this. But he was also a guy that had not been the best head coach in Buffalo, that had been he was a good defensive coordinator, right? But I thought you needed some of what he had. I don't know what Jim has, other than I think Jim is maybe a little bit more of a motivator than Kevin, But other than that, he's 59. Like, I don't think if you give him a job, I don't think Jim's ever getting another head coaching job.
No, definitely not.
And so I think that's telling. And again, like, that doesn't mean you shouldn't give it to him. But I try to find a reason that goes beyond. Give me a reason other than, well, Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett really want him. And listen, if you're the Browns, you might be leveraging your head. Well, if we say no to Jim, and then Jim says, I'm not going to be your defensive coordinator next year, and he quits, maybe Myles asks for another trade. Okay. That might have to be, and that might come out of this, but you cannot let. By the way, if you had a franchise quarterback, I couldn't let that quarterback dictate the head coach hire. You have to have a brain. You have to have your own brain and your own concept of what a head coach is in your own mind. You cannot let that be stirred. Like when Jim Schwartz got interviewed by Baltimore, or Mike McDaniel's now plus 300, the current favorite to be the next head coach in Buffalo. Run your search. Do your job. Like, let this play out and come to a conclusion between yourself, himself being Andrew Berry, the Haslam family, anybody else involved, that everybody feels comfortable with. That's the only way this goes to success. If you're thinking about, well, but Myles, you've already lost. If you're thinking about, but the fans, you've already lost. If you're thinking about trying to find something that will make everybody think you're smart again, you're lost. You might find the next Sean McVay. You also might find the next Pat Shurmur. And the reality is, the only way you change the perception of this organization, the same way you did when Kevin Stefanski came here, is if you win damn games. And how do you do that? You hire the right head coach. And I really struggle. I like Jim Schwartz. There's so much of me that I believe in him as a defensive coordinator. I believe in his system as well. And I there's a part of me that feels like, man, maybe you should have gotten a second opportunity along the way. But I keep grasping for the thing that makes me feel like this is the right move here. And the fear to me is, it's a bit of a, well, he knows Andrew Berry. That's why he's here, right?
Right.
Myles really likes him. Denzel really likes him. There has been player development on the second half. Like, there are things you can sell. And so you get to a point where you're like, well, we owe it to him. No, you don't. It's the NFL. And I hate to be that way, but like, I hate to be so crude about it, because he seems like a great guy, and he is genuinely a truly great, prolific defensive coordinator. But if you hire him because, well, we owe it to him, that feels like a you'll be fired in 2 years, along with Andrew Berry kind of move.
Yeah, no, that's definitely too far. I mean, I do think that at this point you owed him an interview, right? Like, to at least go for the job, I think you owed him that.
I believe you owed him honesty. If you didn't intend to make him the head coach, you shouldn't have interviewed him and given him false hope. And that, I think, might end up being the thing that bites you in the butt here. Because if you didn't intend to do it, and you bring him to the second interview, and then halfway through you go, hey, what do you think about being the DC? That's a quicker way to upset him than if you just told him beforehand, hey, we're not going to give you an interview here. We want you to stay on as DC.
Yeah, I don't know that I look at it, though, as they didn't legitimately consider Jim Schwartz as a head coach. Like, I do think that is something you have to take into consideration with, like, you've pointed out a lot of the things that he's done well. Like, development under players, which I think on the offensive side is something that we can point to and say wasn't good enough, right? Like, of the players you drafted, even if they were just absolute drop the ball bad players, you didn't develop one of those guys into like he can stay on the roster. He's an okay piece. Like, that's Jerome Ford is probably like the best option I have for that. The offense didn't do it. Jim Schwartz did it, and he turned guys legitimately into really good players. Like, Myles Harden is a late round pick who's currently your starting slot corner and was fine doing it. Like, if you've already succeeded with what you've gotten out of Myles Harden based on where you drafted him, I think you look at those things and go, okay, that's something I need out of somebody who's going to be running my team. And if you can put the right pieces in place, then maybe we can get the offense under, and maybe we can make sure that things you're doing for the defensive guys' development are at least being handled in the right way offensively. I think when we talk about the Browns casting like a wide net, though, this is what they're doing. They're going, okay, Jim Schwartz is an option. We have to talk to Jim Schwartz. We have to consider this. But also, I'm going to look at a lot of the other guys that I think can also help out this team in a much different way.
I guess I look at it through the lens of this cliche, which is the danger in hiring a defensive coordinator and then pairing him with a young wizard as offensive coordinator is eventually that young wizard is going to, as all young offensive wizards do, get plucked away to be the head coach, and then you have to replace him. And then that becomes the trick. So the problem there then becomes, all right, we hired a great coach, but now we got to keep the Tomlin thing. Now we got to keep fixing our offense. That's with great defensive coaches. That's if I hired a Mike Tomlin. That's if I hired a Bill Belichick. Okay, who does the offense? I'm having that problem with great leaders and great head coaches. Guys have won Super Bowls. I'm also going to have that problem, and it's going to feel more amplified when your head coach is a guy where it's like, is he deserve? Did he do enough to get that second run as a head coach, or did he not? And I think that's a part of this struggle.
Well, that's part of it. I lean away from defensive head coaches as it is because of that struggle. Like, it makes me want to lean into the offense because the young defensive mind rarely gets plucked to be the head coach. Like, every once in a while it'll happen, but it's usually the offensive mind. I can find great defensive coordinators. Like, that is the other thing. I think Jim's incredible. There's other defensive coordinators that exist that are good defensive coordinators that – are they going to run the wide 9 technique? Maybe not. Is that the best thing for the Browns? Probably. Can they run something that the Browns can still have success with the talent they have? Yeah, I think you could probably find something out too.
So are you saying that in deference of bumping him up and losing him as a defensive coordinator?
Yeah, like, because I think that's a legitimate thing right here, right? Like, I think if you do go young mind and you go young offensive mind, I don't know that Jim Schwartz wants to hang around.